Hello, hello. Hi, Coco. Hi, friends. Hi, Ash. Okay, let's try to set this up here. Can you guys hear me? Like if I leave the music on over there, you can still hear me if I talk? It's hot! Just let me know you can still hear me, that way I don't like answer questions. Yeah, okay. Yes, it's a Sublime shirt. Truth be told, I actually don't know too many Sublime songs. Obviously I know like the main ones. I'll turn down for a hot second because I can't hear myself think. Yes, it's a Sublime shirt. My really good friend and student Jess gifted it to me at one of my retreats, so she's coming back for my next retreat too, which I'm super excited about. Okay, what is your mindset going into this sesh? Okay, cool, good question, Kevin. So my mindset and intention going into this session is to keep it chill. I have the tendency, and this was actually something, well, Kevin, I know you're in the membership and there's lots of people watching this right now who are in the membership, but I was just saying how one of the biggest challenges I had with the last battle round that I did for the online battle was that I felt like my energy was like too crazy, which is obviously just a limiting belief. But in the same sense, if I keep feeling like that over and over, I want to train the opposite. I want to train chill. I want to train the fact that I can have like intricate footwork and like cool things with my fundamentals or with my tricks, even though the energy is dialed back, and that's a skill that I'm actively working on. So that's my mindset going into this sesh. I should say that's my plan going into this sesh. My mindset going into this sesh is surprisingly better than I expected. I was actually planning on giving myself the whole week off from dancing after recording my battle entry on like Monday, because I like really pushed myself. But today I just felt like grooving, like I just felt it. So I feel good, and like I don't care what happens today, which is partially why I'm on live. Not trying to impress, not trying to get any like videos. I'm just like here hanging out with y'all. Okay. Coco says, do you have to think about your arms to make them all that cool stuff, or is this the result of lots of practice? Both. Both. I definitely think that, so like when I was first trying to really work on arm flow, obviously it took a lot more like brain power and in the moment thinking than it does now. But it's not that there's no thinking now. So like my goal and kind of like my mindset, maybe what I could do, maybe what I'll do is I'll keep the music turned down and I'll do a run where I like talk you through what I'm thinking. I don't know how it'll turn out. I don't know if it'll be like a direct translation, but I think that could be really helpful in specific to like what I'm doing with my arms. But to also answer a piece of your question, like I give myself prompts. So like no more do I think, oh, I need to do my running man, my T-step, I need to throw an elbow, I need to push, I don't think so micro, I guess that's the word. I think on a more like macro scale. So if I'm really trying to work on arm flow, I'll literally, like, this is so funny, but my prompts will just be arms. And like, there was a video that I posted in the S.H.R.E.D membership for the day of our challenge that was like, be flowy, use circular motions, etc. That was my prompt for that session, obviously. And that's what I was telling myself in my head. I was like, hey, arms, just be flowy, circular, fluid, don't stop moving, don't have an end or a beginning, just keep it going. And so instead of thinking like, I want to do the wave with my arms, or like thinking so micro, zoom out a little bit, give yourself a prompt or a theme or like a vibe. Kind of a shitty explanation, and that really should help with arms. And most importantly, don't be afraid to make your arms bigger and weirder than you feel comfortable with. The bigger and weirder and more Broadway your arms are, the more comfortable you're gonna feel with using your arms while you're shuffling. And I always say it's easier to be big and ridiculous and refine it and tone it down than it is to feel really shy and reserved and have to break you out of that shell. So like, go Broadway. Hashtag go Broadway with it. B. Hoffa says, train chill, print it. Yo, I actually used to have a Shuffle S.H.R.E.D t-shirt line, fun fact. We're gonna need to bring that back and be like, train chill. There's another one that we always say. We're gonna have a Hoffa hyped shirt. There's always so many like fun shirt ideas. Kevin says, groovy is chill for sure. Yeah, for sure. Coco, yeah, you're welcome. So, Coco, as long as you're still here, I'll do it regardless, but I'll keep the music a little bit lower, and I'm gonna talk you through like what I'm thinking in my brain while I'm doing arms. I'm gonna try, we'll see if it works. Because who knows what's actually gonna come out. Okay. Can you hear me? And can you hear the music? Someone confirm you can hear me while I'm over here, and you can hear the music. Yes. Okay. Here we go. So I'm just grooving, groove. I want to stick with that motion. Stick with it. Stick with it. Stick with it. I'm gonna flow. Keep things open. 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 Ha. Pause. Keep it going. Momentum. Momentum. Ha. Ha. Flow, liquid, follow my hands, let my hand bring to my legs, open my chest, big, hop, up, down, concave, 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 my foot, forward, back, shuffle. Fundamentals. I want to do different T-set variations. That was so weird. I've never done that before. Whew. All right. While I'm trying to catch my breath, did that help to like paint a little bit of a picture? It probably sounded like random prompts, which it was, truly. But a lot of the prompts were decided based on the momentum of what I was doing in the move before. So what I mean by that is there were a few times when I said momentum, momentum. And what I meant by that, which obviously I couldn't explain while I was dancing, is if I'm doing something like this, I can feel my momentum pulling backwards. And so when I prompt myself momentum, I'm gonna move in the direction that my momentum is going. So I'm gonna go ha, 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 right? None of that was shuffle, but like the same thing could happen with shuffle, right? Like I could use, momentum doesn't always have to mean direction. It can just mean like having continuity from an element of the move that you're currently doing into the next move. So for example, if I was doing, let's say I was doing something like very hoppy, I could keep that momentum of the hop and do something else. And then let's say I feel really grounded here, I can keep the momentum of grounded and stay grounded. From here, I could use the push to push my body up, right? If I really wanted to, I could push my body up and follow this momentum, which I could do like catch step, ha, ha, or something like that. So oftentimes, I'm following the momentum. And this is hard to do, I'll be very honest. I am no professional at it. It's tricky and it does involve a lot of thinking. And that's why I think when people are like, just don't think, just go into flow state. No, we gotta think. Like our brain is literally designed to think. So if we can just get it to start thinking the right things, or the helpful things, or the right prompts, then it will feel like we're in flow state a lot more. Because at no point there was I like, oh, I need to do this little hop, hop, twist-a-roo. No, I was just like, my momentum is that I'm hopping. Okay, let me hop, hop, twist. If that makes sense. That's where we get like the prompt and then like the creativity of how you want to explore that prompt further. Yeah, really good question. Let me know if any of that makes any sense, because we're in very like advanced conceptual talks right now, which is cool. Ask your shuffle questions, all the peeps that are joining, hello. I'm gonna continue my sesh. Drop any questions you have about shuffling, about practicing, about consistency, mindset, anything. iterative process and seeing how to achieve the flow state. Yeah. Not a linear path. Okay, Bihafa says, when starting your sesh, what's the process of picking music? Is it off of feelings or looking for something specific? That's a good question. That's a real good question. Okay. There's so many answers here. The real answer is yes, it's off of feeling. So like, sometimes when I say feeling, I mean like physical human emotion. And this is where the shit gets deep. This is where the mind and the spiritual side of dance really comes out. And so I literally asked myself, like, what do I need today? Okay. So I'm going to walk you through this music selection. I picked this like chill, deep house, progressive, like melodic vibe, not just because I wanted to have a chill session today, not just because that was my intention, even though yes, it complements that, but I picked this because I knew I needed something more gentle. I talked in the S.H.R.E.D membership about how like I had a really bad mindset in my last session, and like I felt like I needed like a week to break up with dance for a minute to just come back home, kind of. And today, it has not been a week, and today I decided I wanted to dance, but I didn't want to go right back into that like going hard mentality that I normally have. I knew that wasn't going to be healthy for me or helpful for my progress, or just in general. Like I'm not trying to go back to that mindset state that I had where it felt very like performative. And so I knew I wanted something that was more chill, more gentle, and a slightly slower pace where I wasn't going to be rushing through. I wasn't going to be like trying to go super hard, which then brings me into my intention of the actual practice, which was to go soft, to be chill. The other part of it, sometimes I'll play around with different genres. So for example, maybe I throw on something like this that's a little bit more chill, a little bit more like deep, and maybe it's just not working. Maybe it's not clicking. I will pick something polar opposite. So usually from something like this, if it felt like it just wasn't working, I couldn't get into it, I would switch to like techno. Like I would switch to something that's like, how can I bring out a different side of me right now? Because a different side of me is gonna give me a different result, right? Like this is my like chill, flowy, like fairy type vibe persona, whereas my like techno persona, when I choose to like match it with the music, it's like super aggressive, it's super like in your face. Like I often describe that persona as cocky, even though I'm not a cocky person to begin with, and that's what's fun about personas is like you can be who you're not, which is kind of cool. Yeah, so hopefully that helps as far as picking the music. If I'm looking to do like a strict drill session, or I'm like really trying to work on the technique of something, so like the sessions where I go back to my fundamentals, I'll pick like a slower playlist first. So like, I don't know exactly what the BPM is, and truly slow to me is going to be different than slow to anyone else, but my version of a slow playlist. And I'll start with that because I'm trying to hit my technique. I'm not trying to rush. And then I'll slowly work up that BPM, maybe to something like this, then to something like techno, where I can literally be like, okay, I had really good foundation at the slow pace. Can I have that same foundation to psytrance? Where does it fall apart? What's the middle ground, right? So yeah, hopefully that helps. Kevin says, how do you create a more animated or more expressive image of your dancing? Woo! This is a good one. Okay. So Kevin, we're going to do a whole persona workshop at the retreat. So you're going to have a little bit of that to look forward to. And I'm also going to do a persona workshop inside of the Shuffle S.H.R.E.D membership. So they'll be a little bit different, but you'll get to kind of build on your persona. So look forward to that. But my answer is persona. So when I am looking to be more, turn this down. When I'm looking to be more animated in my dancing, I kind of ask myself, this is kind of the short answer, like, who do I want to be right now? And sometimes the music determines who I want to be. So for example, that techno example that I was giving you, like I could get into this like aggressive, like kind of cocky persona, like where I'm like doing things like this and brushing off my shoulder and stuff like that. So sometimes the music does help to dictate who you want to be. But sometimes you just need to dictate who you want to be and then match it to the music. And so why this is powerful is because the music is not always going to be the determining factor. Let's say you go to like a battle and they play a lot of techno. You could throw every single round being like really intense and aggressive, or like what if you showed up with a round being like silly or playful or flowy, or like, to me, that displays that you can like take the same fundamentals we all know and love and dress them up differently and characterize them to you in different ways. And so my recommendation is start with letting the music decide your persona. And just like this, we're getting into the emotional shit here, but it's like, how does this music make me feel? So if I was listening to this right now, okay, this music makes me feel like, it kind of makes me feel like a goddess. Like I feel like immediately I want to like open my chest and like have my chin up, okay? And so it also sounds a little bit jungly, right? So to me, with this feeling in the jungle, like I feel like I could have like a snake persona. So what I would do to have that animation or that expression is I would prompt myself, I'm gonna be the snake. Not that kind of snake, the good kind of snake. This kind, the nice kind. I love snakes. Well, I don't love snakes, but I love snake jewelry. Right? And so like, then when I'm doing my dancing, I'm being the snake. I'm embodying that like kind of sensual, open, like very goddess-like creature. And I'm thinking about my facial expressions, the actual like way that my body moves, the dynamic that it's making. So if I'm going for the snake or the goddess, I'm probably gonna move in more like fluid ways rather than like something that's like very choppy, right? So you can start to build character and persona by starting with asking how the music makes you feel, and then doing what you would already do with that, I don't want to use the word mask, but like with that costume on, yeah? Hopefully that helps. Lexi, you're amazing. I love watching you dance. Yay, thank you. I appreciate that so much. Okay, Lexi's question. How did you start incorporating your arms when shuffling? Did you do it separately at first or go all in together and just practice patience? Fantastic question. I love the way you worded this, to be honest. The real answer is all of the above. Number one, you are gonna have to practice patience. The number one mistake that I see when people are like starting to incorporate arms into their flow is that they expect their arms to do what they want their arms to do, or their upper body, without putting in the work and the reps the same way they do their feet. Like, you don't do the Running Man after like 1 week of learning it and are like, oh my God, I'm never gonna get this. Like, we treat our feet differently for some reason when it comes to shuffling, or maybe it's just dance in general. And like, we are more patient with our feet. Then one day, our Running Man and T-step, for example, feels really good, and it's like, okay, I'm ready to start implementing some arm flow. And all of a sudden, after like a session or 3 sessions or a week of practicing arms, we're like, why isn't this working? And it's like, well, you spent 2 months working on your Running Man for it to get where it is. Like, our upper body is still a body part, right? We still need to build those neural connections to make our mind and our body communicate and cooperate. So patience is totally number one on there, okay? Number 2, I would practice simultaneously with your footwork and separately without your footwork. So I would give yourself like a section of your practice. Let's say you have an hour of your practice, or whatever, we'll just use an hour. Take like, even if it's only 5 to 10 minutes, and literally just move with your arms. You can do this sitting in a chair, sitting on the floor. You can do this standing up, and that way you can like, you know, lean and like use your feet a little bit to like move you in different directions, but no shuffling on the feet, because you need to start working your upper body. And a lot of the training that I did before, I forget which battle it was, but I did a lot of training where it was just arm training. It was me in my living room, like I am right now, standing in front of my mirror that I could actually, the mirror was like, kind of like how my window is right now, where I wouldn't be able to see my feet, and I just worked on my arms. I moved to the music with my arms, I listened to the beats with my arms, and I like portrayed them. I asked myself like, what type of, you know, similar to the question that I answered before, like, what type of movement is this music asking of me? Does it feel very sharp and like, whoo, like, I need to have strong finishes, or does it feel more fluid? Could I mix the two? And so that is part of the practice. I specifically had an injury in 2020 where I was pretty much unable to shuffle for like 2 to 3 months. And so that, in my opinion, is where my arm flow actually started to flourish, because I was like pissed that I couldn't shuffle, but I wasn't gonna just not do anything. And so I practiced my arms. I actually had a stationary bike, and like, not to say that this was perfect, but like I would throw on a live set on my TV, be on the stationary bike, and be like moving my arms. And so isolating your arms is a super helpful practice. And then giving yourself like, I don't know exactly where you're at in your flow, so like I could probably give you a more tailored answer based on your situation, you know, if I had more detail. But like if you're, let's say, a little newer to shuffling and you're someone who's like, okay, I'm getting my fundamentals, but now I need to start incorporating my upper body, find a bread and butter upper body and arm movement that you could match with every move. And it doesn't mean you're gonna take that movement and run with it for the rest of your life and never do anything different, but at least it gives you options. So let's say it's your running man. Maybe you're gonna like push down with your running man and twist your shoulders. And that's what you're gonna practice to start. Maybe with your T-step, you're gonna like flick the wrists and bend the elbows out, and that's what you're gonna practice to start, right? Maybe in your cross blade, if you're doing cutting shapes, the elbows are up, and that's what you're gonna do to start. Once you get comfortable with one movement, for example, like let's say you pick your running man, you are enjoying that pumping motion, the shoulders are feeling good, then you can start adding different prompts and different layers to it from what you would have been working on in your like arm flow only portions of the practice. You know what I mean? So yeah, I think that'll be super helpful as far as your arm flow journey. The most important thing, actually, and I think I said it in this live already, but I'm tripping, I'm not sure. The most important thing with your arm flow is that you, oh yes, I did say it already, but I'm gonna say it again. Practice everything, every movement that you do, way bigger, way more dramatic. Keep it controlled, but like way more dramatic and open than you want to. Because arm flow is vulnerable. The moment we are spreading our wings and moving our arms away from the center of our body, we're literally exposing like one of the most vulnerable parts of us. It's literally where our heart is, and it's very vulnerable. And so a lot of people tend to like, they don't want to do big chest pumps. They don't want to do big arm movements. And so they end up looking like stiff because they're afraid to open it up. And they feel like, oh, it looks so weird because I'm stiff. And then they also feel like, oh, it looks so weird when I'm big. But the way that I see it is I would rather it be really big and dramatic and be able to tone it down and refine it and mold it into what you want than to feel like you're really stiff and you've been stiff for so long that you're like afraid to open up and explore. So I said this before, I said, be Broadway about it. Like, if you were in a Broadway musical and you were dancing on Broadway, how big and dramatic and like eccentric would you be? That's how you should start practicing your arm flow, and you can refine it from there. I just went back home from a shuffle lesson. Nice! That's awesome. All right, I'm gonna keep flowing a little bit. Drop your questions. These are fantastic questions. Shuffle questions, mindset questions, shuffle mindset questions. Well, they should be shuffle mindset questions. Practice questions. Anything. Be Broadway, we're getting shirts. Yeah, you're so welcome. Thank you. Are y'all still here? Are y'all still here? I cut out for a minute. I have a show in 1 month. What should I wear? As a shuffler, you should wear something comfortable. I'm not the right person to ask. I'm gonna say wear a baggy t-shirt and baggy pants. I go to all shows, all festivals looking borderline homeless because I care more about dancing and feeling good while I dance than anything else. So my festival attire changed very much when I started taking shuffling seriously. All right, ask those questions, y'all. Bangs are a blessing and a curse. Okay. The potato emoji, I'm dying. Surprise visit from Turbo today. I'm a happy camper. Yay! Hi, Turbo! Kevin and Coco, both y'all catching the hips. How do we apply more fluid hips movement? I love the hips. Okay. Number 1. Hips used to be my worst asset in dance. My worst. when I started like really using the glute center, I started using the chest, the shoulders, like so many things. And the hips, I just like wasn't using too much. Another like vulnerable area, you know what I mean? Like, I don't got that Shakira in my blood. I could, but like I just don't have it, you know? So when it comes to having more fluid hip movement, number one, obviously it comes down to like your body foundation. So making sure that you are doing exercises and like training so that you can strengthen the muscles around your hips, making sure that you're doing mobility, making sure that in your warm up, you're warming up your hips, whether that's like doing like hip rolls or like, you know, that swinging motion with your leg, those type of things. And then when it comes to actually like applying hips in your movement, this is the bad answer that's actually gonna get you a good result. And it's that you need to just push through the discomfort of doing it and like be okay if it looks bad. And what I mean by that is, I'll give you an example. Okay, firstly, God, I am pouring sweat today. Okay, firstly, when you are, okay, I'm just getting distracted. When you are practicing, the same way that I was saying with your arm movements, to like have a piece of your practice, even if it's 5-10 minutes at the beginning, to open up your arms and upper body, do the same thing with your hips. And like, we can't just expect our hips to start moving until we actually like show the hips how to move. And so what I mean by that is, if I have the music on, doesn't really matter if you can hear it or not, the first thing I'm gonna do is like sink into my knees, and I'm gonna start actually using my hips. So like dancing to the beat with my hips, going different directions, right? Back, maybe circles, other way, to the diagonal, to the back diagonal, and so on and so forth. And it doesn't have to be perfect. There doesn't have to be a rhyme or reason here. It can get more complex as you get more comfortable, but the starting point is you need to just get the hips moving, okay? The second thing that I would say, how to start integrating it into your freestyle, this is gonna look and feel funky at first. I'll never sugarcoat it for y'all. To get it into your freestyle, I would actually just take, I'm not dancing to the music right now, I'm just going slowly. I would take moments of just stopping with your feet planted in the middle of your shuffling, do some hip motions, doesn't matter what they are, and then get back into your shuffling. So it's like maybe 2 counts of 8 of shuffling, and then 4 counts, like maybe it's 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you get back into shuffling, or maybe you do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then you get back into your shuffling, okay? And I'm telling you right now, it's gonna feel clunky. It's gonna feel like you cut and paste the hips into your flow, but that's completely fine because we're just starting to like integrate it into your shuffling, okay? So as I said, be okay with it looking bad. It's gonna look better than it feels. That's another important thing, okay? The third layer is to then start adding hips to the movements that you're already doing. So with my running man, for example, I could just do a running man, or I could do a running man, I'll show you to the front, or I could do a running man and start to like push my hips different directions, right? Or maybe instead of it being so dramatic, maybe I'm just working on like pelvis popping in my running man. So when I open, not only am I jumping into my triangle, but I'm actually gonna pop the pelvis back. This would be paired with a chest pop, and I'm actually in like an arch position here. The chest pop can come later, but I just have the chest pop in my arsenal. Then when I come into my flamingo, it's my perch, I'm actually gonna tuck the hips under, tuck the pelvis. Round, tuck, round, round, tuck, round, tuck, round, tuck, round, tuck. Right? So you can see the difference in that versus this. Pelvis, hips, 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 nothing, 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 nothing. It's a very small, subtle difference, but it gives your running man this extra groove. It's not like mandatory in my opinion. I think there are other ways we can have that groove and other ways we can use the hips, but that subtle pop of the pelvis could be a great way to start using hips. Another thing, because I'm sure you guys were referring to my use of like things like this. I don't know where that came from, if I'm being super honest. I never said, let me drill this, I never even I do this spin a lot. I don't know how I get into it. I do some sort of fouette variation, which I'm not trained in fouettes either, but it just comes from experimenting. And so clearly the common denominator with these hip opening motions that you can add, the common denominator is that there's a swing of some sort. So there's the swing here, right? There's, if I were to do the fouettes, again, I don't know how I normally get into them, but there's a swing and then an opening, right? Swing, and then when I wrap, I open. My hips actually rotate outwards. So practicing, and you know what? This is how you know this is not a real move that I learned, because the other side doesn't even work, right? This is just something that my body naturally did, but it doesn't mean if you like these type of hip opening motions, maybe it's something that simple. This is a warm-up exercise. This is the one I was telling you about, hip circles. So where could we take hip circles and apply it into the flow, right? So just getting experimental with different ways you can use your hips and segregating time of your practice to work on it if that's something you want. Good questions. Hello friends that are joining, drop your shuffle questions. Is there a way to hide the comments? It's blocking the legs. Tap the screen one more time and the comments should go lower on the bottom, but I know I don't have a ton of space in here, I'm sorry. Read between the comments. No, I know it's difficult. B. Hoffa says, how does a veteran like yourself go about learning new moves? Oh, you're not gonna like this answer. You're not gonna like this answer. Okay. This is my experience. This is what I do. I'm not speaking for all veterans. I barely consider myself a veteran at this point, but thank you, okay? My process at this point, where I'm at in my journey, I do not learn new moves. I do not seek to learn moves. I'm not saying I don't learn new stuff. I don't learn new moves. So number one, what I do is I learn from people. These are the two things. Number one, I learn from people, and number two, I learn from experimentation, and oftentimes that experimentation is guided by what the people have guided me to work on. So, as someone who posts tutorials, because I know that people like tutorials are not what's gonna help you learn new moves or become a really expressive dancer. They might teach you some combos or some moves, especially if you're more of a beginner and you're just becoming familiar with a lot of things in the shuffle or in the dance world. But the way that you're gonna actually learn and the way that I learn is that I pick people's brains and I ask questions. I look at their flow and I say, and again, I have hired them and paid them to do this. I'm hiring a coach and working with them one-to-one. And I'm literally asking the questions of this is what I want to see in my flow. Where are my blind spots? What am I missing here? Look at my flow. Give me the critique. Explain to me from your expert opinion where you think my gaps are, and also what are your ideas that you have for me? Because when we want to learn something new in our own flow, it can become very linear. Oh, I want to learn this. But someone else, someone that's potentially more experienced than you or whatever the case, they can see things and they see potential in your flow that you don't see. That's how I do it with my students, and that's how my teachers do it with me when I'm the student, right? And so that's one side of things. And one more thing I'll say is typically the questions I'm asking are more about like, I'm looking for more creative prompts and cleanliness at this point. So new moves are fundamentals that have creative prompts and concepts and layers over top of them. Very rarely, other than like the 12 fundamentals that you see between like shuffle, dance, cutting shapes, and then a few miscellaneous, very rarely anything you're seeing online is like this new move. It's either inspired from another dance style or like it's totally another dance style. Like a lot of people add krump, hip hop, house dance, right? Or it's your fundamentals in disguise, because it's your fundamentals with an added layer, an added concept, something that adds, changes, or manipulates a piece of your fundamentals so that it looks different. So for example, let me get the comments to go away here. This is my running man, right? We all know that. But someone is going to try to tell me that this is a switcheroo, flippity floppity footer, or some weirdo name. When in reality, all this is your open position of your running man with a footwork concept applied where you're only taking the emphasis point of your running man and you're using repetition. It is this minus this plus more of this. So it's not a new move. It's a move we already know, but it has a layer on it. It has multiple layers, actually. There's probably some that I even missed. This is just a simple example. So instead of seeking new moves, you need to seek an understanding of concepts, layers, prompts, ideas. They're all kind of the same thing, just interchangeable. And apply them to your fundamentals. So let's say I have my running man. Are we still here? My alarm went off. My alarm went off. Let me know that y'all are still here. I'm gonna keep going anyway because I'm gonna save this and post it later. Okay, so this is my running man. If I wanna add the element, still here, okay good. If I wanna add the element of direction changes to my running man, then what I'm going to do is a few different ways I could do this. I'm going to maybe running man like this, right? That's like a direction or orientation change. Maybe I make it more gradual and I do it like this. Maybe I'll use a different example. Maybe I use a jump. So I'm doing my running man and I want to add a jump. I could jump on the spot here and then keep going in my running man. I could running man, switch. Running man, switch. Right? So that's adding jump and then like elevated footwork before I go down. And so the point I'm trying to make with this little ranty rant is the things we think are new moves are actually just fundamentals in disguise and dressed up differently and used differently and manipulated differently. And so when I'm asking for ideas, when I'm asking these coaches and these other shufflers, like, how can I make things different? That's the direction that I'll get them to point me. And I'm very picky with who I work with for shuffling. My brain works different. I'm like built different when it comes to thinking about it. And I need a plug. This is the crappy iPhone 11 after my phone totally like torched itself the other day. Okay, I'll wrap this up really soon. So yes, I'm asking them for ideas in that sense. And then I'm also asking for technique cleanups, because the more that we get into the creative side of shuffling, the more our technique is going to start to slip, because our brain is more in like the creative, like, oh, I want to explore kind of way. And that's totally cool. And I highly recommend that. I have a whole post, if you scroll down my feed, on how like sometimes being too focused on technique is going to ruin your creativity because you're just too caught up. You're trying to make everything too perfect, too whatever. It's like, just let loose for a minute and explore, right? And so that's super important. Then it comes to my training. I know these are such long-winded answers, but like y'all ask for the truth. Okay? The other thing that I do when it comes to learning new moves, or when I just want to learn something new, is I experiment. So then I go back into my flow and I literally spend time in my brain while I'm freestyling. I freestyle like 24/7. The only time I'm not freestyling is when I am focusing on technique, and even still I'm freestyling. When I'm focusing on fundamentals, I'm sorry. And even then I'm still freestyling, right? Like, unless I'm drilling the same move over and over. And so I literally just go in and I freestyle. And that sounds so like surface level, but what's happening in my brain is like, how can I move this way? Like, I'll walk you through something really quick. The music doesn't matter, okay? Let's say I'm like, let's say I'm doing my T-step, okay? Let me tilt this down, that way hopefully my feet are a little more visible. So I know the comments are there. Okay, so let's say I'm working on my T-step and I'm like, I want to just enhance this. So now I'm gonna think of all the ways that I can enhance my T-step. So I'm actually just gonna focus on T-stepping on the spot right now. I don't care about traveling. I just want to find different ways to play with this and then to add my upper body as well, because that's where I'm at personally. And adding upper body is such a great way to elevate your dance without having to like always think of new concepts and combos for your feet, okay? I don't even really do combos. But anyways, so if I'm doing this, first thing I'm gonna say is, okay, where can I tap my foot differently? I can tap my foot in front, behind, to the side. I can cross. I could do a reverse T-step and cross because that actually feels better. Okay, I could do all those now with a heel. Can't really do the back one with the heel, right? I could do an actual flat foot, right? So I'm like, okay, now there's just like, I just did 15 different variations of one movement. So the first thing I would do is like explore that, right? Practice different ways of moving your tapping foot. Okay, cool. That would maybe be like a whole practice. I wouldn't spend the whole practice doing exactly that, but I would work my way up with that being the goal, and then I would put it in my freestyle. So I'd be like, okay, now it's not gonna come out great because I didn't actually drill it, so bear with me, okay? Now that's my focus in my freestyle. Right? I got a little crazy with it, but I'm just gonna practice. And like you saw my face, I had a thinking face. Like, you're gonna have a thinking face because your brain needs to be involved when you're learning new things, right? It just has to. It has to be involved. Like, the brain's gotta know. So you're gonna have a thinking face, okay? Yeah, that's kind of my process of learning new things. I know I just gave one example, but like, we'd be here all day if I gave more examples. Maybe we could save other examples for another live. Okay, let me see if I missed anything. So we talked about hips. I like the idea of working a warm-up move into your flow. So organic. Yeah, there are so many moves that we do already. Moves. Literal bodily movements. Not necessarily like shuffle moves or dance moves, but we do movements on a daily basis that can totally be put into your flow. That could be a prompt, right? Like, for example, like reaching. I'm gonna reach for my water bottle. That's a whole prompt. How can you reach in your flow? How can you reach your chest? How can you reach your head, your shoulder, your arm, your leg? Like, yeah. It's complicated and simple all at the same time. B. Hoffa says, love this answer. That's how I feel about it too. Yeah, cool. I love it. Everyone's here. This was when shit hit the fan. Where will this be posted? I am going to post this. Is this recorded? I'm in and out of listening, but feel like I have the same questions you're answering. Yes, this is going to be, maybe I'll post it on my feed next week. It's definitely recorded. I'm going to download it or whatever you do on the Instagrams, and I will post it for you guys. Absolutely. Okay, I'm scared to swipe down and see what my battery's at. You have one more question. Who's gonna be the last question before my battery does? Do you have any other social media you're active on? Yeah, I do. My actual handle, I'll type it in here, is Alex Nicole Kennedy. Yeah, I'm a mindset coach, a mindset and nervous system coach. So that's like the other half of my life. That's why I talk about mindset so much on here, and shuffle mindset specifically. So you can find me on my other Instagram at Alex Nicole Kennedy. If you go through some of my videos, a lot of the freestyles are like collaborated videos with myself on my other account. So you can check me out there. But yeah, this was super fun. Thank you guys for being here and engaging. I know sometimes I hop on live, I feel like I'm talking into the abyss. So these were fantastic questions. I literally live and love to teach. And so I hope that this was helpful. I hope that it like opened your brain. If you want to ask consistent questions like this, y'all need to jump into the S.H.R.E.D membership. I know many of you on here are in the membership already, which is incredible. And I love that you're open to asking questions there and here, which is so cool. But this is the space where you can ask me specific, distinct questions about your own shuffling, and I'm going to give you one-to-one feedback through video feedback, written feedback, voice note feedback, etc. So we can basically cater your style to what you want it to be. We also talk about shuffle mindset. We do challenges. We have mindset calls. Like it's just the place to be. My brain is unlocked. Coco's brain is unlocked, y'all. Unlocking the brain. Cool. If you want to join the S.H.R.E.D membership, just send me a DM. It's also in the link in my bio. It's $23 a month. You can cancel anytime, but come hang out and see what it's all about. And if you have more questions about it, like what's included, what do we do in there, just let me know and I will give you all of the answers. No pressure to join, but of course, having all the information would be awesome for you. So enjoy the rest of your day. Happy Friday. Love y'all. Peace.